Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for December 3rd, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 338. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, whose visualizer I'm not sure is actually working, we are going to talk about the next 10 articles. Rich guy hid millions, FTC accused of leaking, and you don't want anything leaking on you. The Verge goes subscription. Return to Madagascar. It's not a Pixar movie. A Harry Potter sword could land you in prison. FTC cracks down on a firm. Broken solar observer. Limited skills to verify information online. It's about Australians, but I think it applies to everybody. There's a dog food recall that's getting a bunch of states worried. And getting malaria on purpose. That's right. Not for the halibut. Everything's powered by ohmtown.com. Go over there and become a citizen where you too can filter through the noise. And, well, there's no noise over there, actually, because all the noise comes from Mayor Watt. Anyway, see you on the other side. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens. And yes, my visualizer is cooperating.
Yay. So maybe I've worked out all the bugs, but we'll see. All it takes is Windows 11 to let me know that it's actually paying attention.
Or for any piece of software to do an update.
Oh, yeah. Updates are the bane of, well, I don't know, job security for people. Anyway, let's get into this. We have 10 articles all lined up. So the way that it works, it's kind of like walking down Main Street, ohmTown. And on the left and the right are articles. Consider them stores. We barge into this one. Rich guy was so bored that he hid $2 million in treasure across the U.S. And then we talk about it. We don't really buy anything that anybody's selling, though. And then we walk right back out. It's kind of like a beer crawl, but you don't get drunk. But you wish you were. I don't know. Anyway, so Collins Black was a musician in California who transitioned into an entrepreneurial career. Early on in the life of Bitcoin, before a single coin was valued at nearly $100,000, as it is at the time of this publication, Collins Black snatched up a bunch and held on to them selling after years of watching their value steadily rise. Could have been me. Wasn't. I joke because every time I don't follow my own advice, this is kind of what happens. Anyway, the article is over at vice.com. Louis Prada put the article together, and here's how to find them, this article says.
Not the Bitcoin, right?
Not the Bitcoin. It's $2 million. Collectively, these 5 treasure chests have been buried across the United States, collectively valued at $2 million. He began work on it in 2015 after being inspired by the infamous Forrest Fenn treasure hunt, which is one that we actually talked about several years ago. If you don't remember, an elderly art and antiquities collector buried $1 million fortune in the Rocky Mountains that took 10 years for someone to find. At least 2 people died trying to find that treasure, hence the infamous label. Infamous. Collins Black promises a more fun and less deadly treasure hunt than all the other. Way less conscientious millionaire? What? Than that other way less conscientious
Who would
millionaire?
that be? Forrest Fenn?
I guess, yeah. So he put everything you'll need to find in these for these 5 chests strategically hidden around the United States in his book. However, readers will have to decode clues and hints to learn their locations. There was a similar one for the Forrest Fenn, wasn't it? A poem?
I think that was a poem, yes. But This one's an actual book.
Yeah. So the book sells for $40 to $50, depending on where you go, and each chest is a custom-made puzzle box containing a variety of historical artifacts, precious metals, memorabilia. The boxes are filled with stuff like gold medal from Olympic sprinter Wilma Rudolph, a 96-carat emerald, and a brooch once worn by Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. There's more over at this article, like the links that take you to other areas of interest. If you want all of these links, you can hit !NSN over on Twitch chat, and Omatron will spit it out. Let me try it over on the YouTubes.
And I don't know if you said the name of the book, but it's called There's Treasure Inside.
There's treasure inside. What is a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
You'd think it would be R, but they love the C. Anyway, let's move on. Next article. Moving on.
Will you talk like that if you find a treasure?
I will always talk like this. And give me a bottle of rum. Or a steering wheel. So the next article, and that's a deep cut joke there. So the next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Microsoft accuses FTC of leaking news of its antitrust investigation. Microsoft is asking the Inspector General of the FTC to investigate whether agency management improperly leaked news of its antitrust investigation into the company and make its findings public. Bloomberg first reported that the probe was underway last week, which The Verge later confirmed. The investigation covers Microsoft's cloud and software licensing businesses, AI, and cybersecurity offerings. Now, Microsoft's corporate vice president and deputy general counsel, Rima Alali, is accusing FTC management of leaking details of the probe in violation of the agency's own ethics guidelines. So I had a talk with total of 60 people today about ethics being the smallest chapter of every enterprise's operation and onboarding. It's funny that...
Well,
Go ahead.
How do they know that the FTC leaked it? Couldn't it have been somebody at Microsoft?
Oh, I'm sure that when they leaked it, they actually put on there from the FTC.
Most definitely. That's as one does.
That's how it works, right? So the agency instructs new employees that the existence of an investigation probably is, tantamount to actually disclosing any outcome or anything like that. So it's asking the agency inspector general to investigate the leak. Lauren Feiner over at TheVerge.com put the article together, and this is just a little bit of a warning. This article, I added this article right before I added the next article. And the next article is illuminating because of what's going to happen with The Verge. So
yes, I didn't say anything because I didn't know if that article was in there, but that made me pause.
So it says the existence of an FTC investigation is non-public information. Yeah, so though it may be disclosed after the Office of Public Affairs determines the target of a probe already made it public in a press release or a government filing, still, the guidelines add that the Commission has the authority to make appropriate disclosures when it determines that doing so would be in the public interest. So if they hadn't made that determination yet, then they shouldn't be talking about it publicly because it can actually negatively impact perception, stock price, etc.
Oh, yeah. And plus, depending on the outcome,
it could be nothing.
Right. Exactly.
And it's hard to bring back reputation. It's easy to lose, but very, very difficult to recover. There was something that I was going to say. What did you see?
What is an AstroTurf group?
So an AstroTurf group basically, they say here, it says, Alali accused Google in a blog post of launching an AstroTurf group to discredit Microsoft with competition authorities, policymakers, and mislead the public. And an AstroTurf group basically discloses information. Sometimes it's not based in reality, but it's designed to basically fake people, i.e. AstroTurf.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes sense. I'm not familiar with the term.
Yeah, and kind of load up people to not believe whatever is going on, or that something bad is happening, or in some way fake people out. Um, yeah, it's usually used in like political centric circles. Anyway, yeah, nobody they shouldn't have disclosed anything, but apparently they did. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but this could be nothing. But if they can if they can show that this actually existed, this actually happened, and their stock was hindered, they could sue the FTC and the federal government for damage, and demand a disclosure that and an apology. This investigation determined that nothing happened. It may even taint the investigation. Although they found something, they go, "Oh, we're in deep shit." So,
Yeah. I think one of the problems with something like this is that Microsoft is such a large company that there could be multiple people in the company who are aware of the investigation. Doesn't mean that they leaked it, but this is going to be difficult to determine unless, well, I mean, we know the media is not going to be like, oh, yeah, so and so spoke to me.
and it's easy to sit there and say something in the cafeteria, and it spreads out, and somebody could have overheard it and made mention of it. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be impossible to whittle this back down to the one person that has, some urge to share with The Verge. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is quite fascinating because I didn't see this coming. And it's over in the Mobile channel, but it's from Gizmodo talking about The Verge. So popular
I'm glad it wasn't from The Verge.
On their front page, it basically says, here we go. So popular tech news site The Verge goes behind a paywall, but it's not a hard paywall. There's going to be a lot of content that's free still, but they're putting certain things that are probably high value targets behind a paywall. Some parts of the website will remain free. Gizmodo talks about it over on their website, gizmodo.com. Matt Novak put the article together, and it says some parts of the website will be free. The Verge is going to set you back $7 per month or $50 per year, according to Patel, who is the original editor. Well, they're the one that started up the website some 20 years ago or something like that. Oh, 14 years ago, 13 years ago. That seems younger. I thought it was older than that. 13 years doesn't seem like a long time for The Verge. It's been around for a while.
No, I thought it had been around longer.
Yeah.
But I guess in media, at least in modern media, that is a pretty long period of time.
I don't know. I know that it says here founded in 2011, but
I didn't know they were owned by Vox Media either.
yeah, it just says 13 years ago. I swear that was even longer. Why do I know? Yeah, they were.
Were they something before The Verge?
Oh, Joshua Topolsky was the original. That's right. I remember now. And then it says between March and April of 2011, up to 9 years of Engadget's writers, editors, and product developers, including the editor-in-chief Joshua Topolsky, left AOL, the company behind the website, to start a new gadget website. Other departing editors, including managing editor Nilay Patel and staffers, a bunch of them. And then in early 2011, Topolsky announced that the new unnamed site would be produced in partnership with SB Nation, and it's basically a whole bunch of blah, 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 blah. That's over at Wikipedia. So it went through growing pains and stuff like that, but it says if you're a Verge reader, we've been covering massive fundamental changes to how the internet works for years now. Patel wrote, most major social media platforms are openly hostile to links. Huge changes to search have led to the death of small websites, and everything is covered in a layer of AI slop and weird scams. The algorithmic media ecosystem is now openly hostile to the kind of rigorous, independent journalism we want to do. And so I find investigative journalism of value. The problem is that it's not going to be cost effective. And I don't want competition stopping me from acquiring information, because now suddenly the everybody is balkanizing access to data. And so this is, to me, this is basically stopping everybody from obtaining information.
Yeah, which I think is a problem because, well, there's a socioeconomic impact there.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't afford $7 a month or $50 a year and you can't subscribe to 15 different websites, then you get tunnel vision, because the only information you get is from The Verge. And while The
Right.
Verge might be proud of that because they're the one that the people picked, the real problem is that the rest of society suffers because they don't get access to information.
Well, and it's important to have a variety of sources.
Yeah, so we'll have to watch this to see how it impacts ohmTown, because
Well, the
although,
last article was from The Verge.
yeah, yeah, and I don't want to have to sit there and go, well, this one's behind a paywall. I kind of do that with the art newspaper. Sometimes I log in, sometimes I don't. Well, anyway, they say that there's going to be some stuff that's going to be free, but yeah, I don't know. The socioeconomic impact on the general public is going to be tangible. Maybe they're going to be able to use AI to figure out what's the right ratio of free to behind paywall content,
Right.
while screaming at AI that it's bad. Anyway, let's keep moving. The next article is over in the Mobile Channel. Almost 1,000 endangered animals returned to Madagascar in trafficking bust. I titled this Returned to Madagascar, not a Pixar movie.
I
Could
mean,
be.
that's what it sounds like.
It
It's
could
got
be
to
a
be one
Pixar
of the
movie.
sequels.
Spider tortoises, radiated tortoises, brown lemurs, ring-tailed lemurs, animals among some of the world's most endangered, and all of which almost sold off as exotic pets. Had they been sold off, they all probably would have died very quick deaths because of their natural habitats are difficult to replicate, and the animals fail to adapt to their environment, which is a weird thing. Like, why? Because they can't hang from a bush, would they kind of wither away? But
I was thinking more like the temperature was wrong, but yeah, it is an odd concept. And okay, that's a cool photo of lemurs.
yeah, these are ring-tailed lemurs. Um, so authorities in Thailand seized 1,117 animals from an international trafficking operation, all of which were taped to the inner thighs of various people, and they all got stopped because they walked funny. None of
Well,
that
they
last
couldn't figure out why they had ringtails coming out of their jackets.
and walked. Yeah, yeah. Why is your jacket lifting up in the back? Why? Wait, you have a tail? Oh my God! You got too close to Chernobyl. I'm sorry. None of that last part was true, by the way. They didn't get stopped for anything. I don't know how they got stopped.
No, but we've seen similar efforts stopped like that.
Yeah, why are you making buzzing sounds? And they've got like snakes tied around their waist and stuff. Had they been sold off, they would have all probably met their demise. Thai authorities will officially be handing over the animals, nearly 1,000 of them, 961 of those animals, to be repatriated to the Madagascar island, where they belong. I don't know how they got off the island. I guess you could just putt over there in some little toot boat, and
Well,
so
that's
be
the
it.
thing. I don't think it's very close to any land.
Well, I mean,
Like,
other
I
than the
think it's
east
a
coast
pretty
of
good
Africa.
distance.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess maybe you could get over to like Mozambique or something, but it's a pretty decent stretch over there. Um, but I'm glad that I mean, this is an incredible recovery.
did I hear correctly that South Korea is under martial law?
Yes,
Has there
that
been
showed up
anything that?
as a breaking news today, but I don't know really any of the specifics.
Okay, yeah. I know that there's some internal threat apparently, but So Thailand's Minister of Natural Resources and Environment said that the repatriation of the endangered animals to Madagascar shows Thailand's deep commitment to animal welfare. So there you go. All right, let's keep moving. This next article, actually, I was like, what the hell? Why does this exist? Why does this sentence exist? Owning this Harry Potter sword could land you in prison. The Sword of Gryffindor from the Harry Potter series, also known as the Godric Gryffindor sword, has been deemed illegal in Japan.
Yeah, this is unusual to say the least. Notice it doesn't say something like bringing it on an airplane or swinging it at somebody.
That's a sentence I never imagined writing, but here we are. Even the author of the article is like me, going, what the hell? The replica of the famed sword that appeared in multiple books in the Harry Potter series is apparently far too close to an actual weapon, to the point that Japan has issued a recall for the collector's items. For nearly a year, beginning in May of 2023, Warner Brothers Studio Japan LLC sold the swords for approximately $200 or 30,000 yen as part of a tour in Tokyo. So the article is over, oh my god, it's a metal sword. So yeah, duh.
Yeah, but I don't know. Ownership of a sword is, I don't know.
Oh my god, owners of this Harry Potter sword could face up to 15 years in prison. What the hell is it made out of? The souls of children?
It might. I mean, we don't know what has been embedded in the sword. It is probably magical.
Now you just stop. People are going to believe that.
Okay, in the movie it is, but this is a replica.
Yeah, so it says this replica toy was deemed pointy enough that it's required to be registered with authorities, and these weren't. So they're illegal. And by proxy,
Okay,
they're
that's kind
illegal
of
for
funny.
you.
Like, that's pointy enough. Does that mean a stick has to be registered? Maybe it's
Oh
just
my
swords.
god, yeah. I guess it's intent, right? This is a sword. Its intent is to stabby stabby.
Right, it's a weapon and it's pointy, so you have to register it.
Even if it can't wing anybody, really, you know? I mean, you got a better chance of wounding somebody with a fork than this. I don't know.
Did you see that it falls under the category of weapon and not nerdy collector's item?
I saw that, yeah. As the replica falls under the category of weapon and not nerdy collector's item, somebody lobbying totally failed. Whoever was supposed to get, it says $200,000 and up to 15 years in prison. That's what you are facing if you have one of these damn things. Owning one without a permit can land the Harry Potter fan in question with a fine of 30 million yen or $200,000 and up to 15 years in prison.
You know, there are fans out there, but is it really worth going to prison to have a collector's item?
Good God. So stupid. Moving on. Next article is over in the mobile channel. The FTC is cracking down on a firm that claims its AI-powered face recognition tech has zero bias, which is damn near unprovable.
I think that's why this headline is just astounding.
And really, you can't prove a null. So there's no way to say that it has no bias because you just haven't stumbled across it, particularly the black box of AI. And
right, and can you really claim that all the data that was fed in had no bias?
Yeah, exactly. So the software provider won't be allowed to lie about the accuracy of its AI-powered facial recognition technology under a new proposed order from the Biden administration. But that's about to exit, so who knows? With the incoming one, this could get stalled long enough to make it a nothing. So William Gavin over at Quartz or QZ.com put the article together, and Intellivision Technologies has made bold claims about its AI capabilities. It's going to be funny, like we tested on all of the whitest of white people and we found no bias.
Exactly.
So on Tuesday, the FTC said that it would propose under a consent order with Intellivision Technologies that it would prevent the San Jose-based company from making misleading claims about its software that would include any misleading statements about its performance, identifying people of different genders, ethnicities, and skin tones. They basically say that it's got a 0% chance, but now they can go, a fact sheet on the company's website state its technology has an accuracy rate as high as plus 99%.
It's quite a claim. That makes you want to go use it and run a thing like 5 times and see if it ever fails. That would
Over
be pretty easy to show that it wasn't 99%, right?
Intellivision has claimed that its models have trained on millions of faces from across the world and have zero gender or racial bias, according to the agency's complaint. A fact sheet says that it's 99%, even on the company's website, so you can't say it 100%. So if true, that would be a huge deal. For years now, facial recognition technology has had a problem identifying women and non-white individuals. It's funny that they don't sit there and say any person.
Well, they'd have to list multiple categories
Everybody
there,
else, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Non-white.
Maybe this article had a word limit.
Yeah, there you go. So in a 2018 study by Microsoft, researchers found that facial recognition software could be wrong as much as a third of the time. That was in 2018, though. 6 years later, things have evolved. If AI can do anything, it can evolve really freaking fast. So that with AI.
True, but it's probably not at no bias.
Yeah. So instead of testing its technology on millions of faces, Intellivision took a shortcut, according to the FTC, training on images of some 100,000 people and then creating variants of those images for further testing. The FTC also said that the company didn't have evidence its anti-spoofing technology couldn't be tricked by a photo. So,
well, also it says that the television algorithms weren't in the top 100 tested
in 2023. So, look, if you're not in the top 100, you're probably not at the 100 percentile because you don't have 100 other 100 percentile people. Interesting. Let's move on. The next article is over in the Mobile channel, but it's actually from Gizmodo. I think. Yeah, I think it's Gizmodo. Anyway, busted water pipe halts NASA's solar observations at the worst possible time. The damage caused by the flooding won't be repaired before 2025, a troubling pause given the sun's current phase in its 11-year cycle. Which really sucks because there's budget cuts a-coming, and a lot of things at NASA may not be funded through public taxpayer dollars unless it is funneled into a certain other company, private. Never mind. I don't want to name drop, yo. I'm on a first name basis with SpaceX. So
you just name dropped.
Oh, damn. Passant Robbie over at gizmodo.com put this article together. The damage caused by the flooding won't be repaired before 2025, and that's a bad thing for more than what they're saying in here. Why? Because if it doesn't get accounted for in the budget so that it can be taken care of in 2025, then you have anti-deficiency type things in government contracting that prevent you from solving these problems if it's not incorporated in a budget somewhere and you try and budget for it. Let's just solve that problem. No, that doesn't work like that. So a cooling water line at the Joint Science Operations Center, or JSOC, which is not the same as a Security Operations Center, Joint Science Operations Center, just to muddy the water for anybody that's in cybersecurity. And there are JSOCs that are not Science Operations Centers. Anyway.
That seems like a weird term to use.
There.
This is why we're not really ready for space operations. A water pipe is shutting us down until the next year.
Well, they're actually pitching like emergency evacuation plans from the moon, but they're pitching it to the public. Hey, somebody tell us how we should be able to go to the moon.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. This worries me because while I do agree that there is a plurality of very, very smart people out there, I really hope that the smartest minds to date are working with the federal government. But look, we all know that there's a lot of privatization of government, to say that it's going to make the government more agile and stuff like that, while a whole cohort of people are, you know, moaning and groaning that there's overspending. But the government has a better efficiency value than going to the public for that efficiency. People, private companies don't sit there and run and gun for the federal government because it's not going to get paid big bucks, that they have to fight to get a check. No. If there's one thing that the federal government does is that they cut checks really damn fast because they have to by law. All the other stuff aside is designed to slow down abuse. That's why there's bureaucracy in government contracting, to make sure that all the checks are checked and I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But anyway, so the Science Data Processing Facility at Stanford, which houses the servers that store the data from the Helioseismic and Magnetic Imager, or HMI, and the Atmospheric Imaging Array, or AIA. Everybody loves an acronym. Or abbreviation acronym. Which?
Abbreviation if it doesn't make a word. Most
Gotcha.
are abbreviations.
Gotcha. So anyway, the instruments for NASA's SDO, as well as the Sun Observing Satellite Interface Region Imaging Spectrograph, or IRIS, the space agency announced last week, several inches of water were in the JSOC. A statement on SDO's website read, as of this morning, it appears the flooding has been drained, but things are still wet, and at least one leak on 2 electronic equipment continued. Dear God. Okay. So in data centers, in a thing like a JSOC, the data center would actually have water shrouds. And so if the roof leaked, water would hit that and then rain over instead of directly on the servers, and everything else is protected from water. And it's
Maybe
lifted
this
up.
didn't have it.
Oh, I guarantee you it didn't. Yeah, because it looks like it's probably just a regular old room and it flooded. But you account for these things. You try to, at least. So the facility is currently offline while JSOC works on fixing it. Pisser. So anyway, there's a lot more on this article, but you can follow the link through ohmTown and go and check it out. Hopefully it'll get back online in short order, but it says not before 2025.
There's a lot of space-related things being pushed to 2025.
And you could probably, if you had 10 things that were getting pushed to 2025, I'm pretty sure only 4 of them are actually going to be made manifest.
Well, hopefully one of them is the return of the astronauts.
Whoops. So the next article is over in the Mobile Channel. 97% of adult Australians have limited skills to verify information online.
That seems like a really high percentage.
Yeah, so one of my efforts that I do, along with like kind of kitschy things like Click with Care, right? So I promote critical thinking and building the skills necessary to do a task called due diligence. So you trust but verify, but you go out and you find information that verifies the information that you are kind of hitching your horse to. And if you find counter evidence, then you weigh it for its integrity. Does this actually exist? Do other people say the same thing? Sometimes no, they don't. And so you have to think critically and kind of weigh your options. Is this one right or is this one right? And know your bias. So verifying information online is a key element to that because the world's knowledge is at your fingertips here. So Australians now use social media more than any other type of media, including TV, radio, and websites. While the increased use of social media platforms present new opportunities to access and engage with information, it also introduces serious challenges associated with the spread of misinformation because people actually really, really, really enjoy their internal bias being bolstered by other people.
Well, sure, it's self-serving.
Yeah, hey, they believe what I believe. Um, and see, I want to tell a story, but that's going to get me in trouble. Let's just say that there's a whole contingent of people out there that will gladly hitch their horse to a wagon that is completely lies because it stimulates something, some neuronal firing that says, I'm part of that group. And that group is well, it's not factual and it's demonstrably false. And you can go and find ample references that say that what you are believing is absolutely a lie. But then you say, well, or they will say, well, you can't find anything that says that it's a lie. You can only find things that say that that isn't true. And it's really the same thing. It's the same side of a coin. But in a vacuum, because there isn't anything saying that that isn't true, they say you can't prove that what I believe is not true. Does that make sense?
I think so. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. The concept doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You can't prove a negative because the evidence isn't there because everybody goes in a different direction before they reach that destination, right?
So they'd have to have like a website that has everything that doesn't exist on there or something. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Basically, that says there is no evidence that this is true. And Snopes does that kind of stuff.
Right, for things that hit enough critical
Right.
mass or whatever.
Yeah. When it's a target rich environment. So the sheer volume of information available on social media sites is overwhelming. This is why I created ohmTown. These platforms can be used to target people with false, manipulative, and misleading claims. Facebook did that to 700,000 people without their authorization, without their knowledge, manipulated their emotional state, called it the emotional contagion experiment, and people who got negative news over and over and over again acted negatively online. Those who got positive news acted positively. So why is this such a bad thing that they're not going out and verifying misinformation? It's because your emotional state can be impacted by nothing more than text. And as was discussed today with a group, the fact is that you put your bias on text that you read. And those who believe that they're good at sussing out the nuance of just text are ultimately wrong the predominant amount of time. Those who go, I don't know, and they're resistant to sit there and make a claim that they know, they are usually more accurate than those who are confidently incorrect.
Well, I guess that makes sense because I'm thinking the confidently incorrect, right, aren't raising any questions or anything.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet. Well, there's a couple of things that I'm willing to bet, but I have to do the due diligence necessary for me to gather that data and then say, look, this is what my data says. So that's part of my ongoing exercise. I'm actually doing some research, but we'll see if it even comes to anything. If there isn't anything significant and it's just a wash, then it's a nothing. But I work on a lot of projects at once, and so it'll take time. I don't get funded by anybody, and I don't go hunting for grants because I don't want my horse tied to anybody. Anyway, the study tested the ability of 2,115 adult Australians to verify information online. Their sample was representative of the Australian adult population. Now, there is always cultural, temporal, socioeconomic, there's various biases all throughout.
True, but I'm not aware of anything specific to Australian culture that would make this significantly different than other countries with similar, say, socioeconomic status.
Yeah, once you review the data, you could be able to weigh it out a different way. But
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
ideological bents. There's social, ideological alignments that could be considered different than other places.
Sure.
But it isn't a comparison here. So here it is just Australians. So take what this is discussing with a grain of salt. So participants were shown 2 real-life websites and 2 social media posts, and they were asked to evaluate each of them and decide whether the content is reliable and trustworthy. And they were also instructed to explain the steps that they took to reach the decision. This is actually what I do with a group of people at any given time. It depends on what I'm doing with the group. And I have them evaluate and then justify why they chose that. And it's basically an exercise in critical thinking and due diligence. So in all 4 tasks, respondents were first asked if the claims on the social media posts were true or websites were true. And these questions had a correct answer. After the first question, participants were asked to explain how they reached their conclusion. The highest score achievable was 8 points, and they grouped respondents into 3 categories based on their score. So no ability, emerging ability, they got 1 to 3 points, or developing ability, 4 or more points.
Wow, no ability.
Yeah, so if the person clearly articulated how they conducted the verification task and provided sufficient evidence, basically citations, they were given 2 points. So, wait, how many? 4.
I thought there were 8 points total.
Yeah, so there were 4 tasks. So
okay.
you got 2 points for each one. So, hell, if you got 2 out of the 4, which is only 50%, and you got it right, you got developing ability.
Yeah, but you had to show, you couldn't just like guess the answer or whatever.
Yeah, naturally. So the results raise serious concerns about the ability, not necessarily ability. They may not give a shit. So they just didn't put the effort in, right? To identify misinformation online. And if you say
Right,
to the
maybe
people,
they were lazy or tired that day. That doesn't mean they can't do it.
yeah, they just didn't care. Yeah. And you can't go, hey, do you think you can put in the effort? Because then you get bias, confirmation bias.
Right.
So almost half, 45% of adult Australians showed no ability to take basic steps to verify online information, and 52 only had emerging. So 97% had barely any ability.
That's really a high percentage.
Oh my God. And they only got 50% because they actually cared enough to do the.
Well, I wonder if they had more tasks, if the number would have gotten worse. Like maybe some of
Yikes.
that was luck to get some points. I don't know.
Yeah. So it says another important finding of the study, the ability to verify information online is low across the board, across all age groups. And there wasn't a huge difference between the age groups. Overall, the vast majority of Australians were struggling to verify information. That said, older Australians tended to score slightly lower. A little more than half of the 60 to 69 age group landed in the no ability category compared to the 38% of those aged 30 to 39. Well, 60 to
I think that
69-year-olds.
makes some sense, right?
Yeah, they're not chugging over to the computer to verify some fact that somebody dropped at the.
No, they're like, I saw that on my favorite morning show. It must be accurate.
My beeper tells me. Anyway, won't even go through all of this, but I just found it really fascinating. Now I really want to know about the, like they talk
Like what
about
the
the
tasks
behavior.
were.
Yeah, I mean, like one unhelpful behavior was to rely on existing beliefs to decide if content is true. Another was unhelpful strategy is to make a snap judgment about the veracity based on a person's past experience with a content producer or actor featured in the post. So it's all this internal bias, and they rely on that instead of going off and verifying the
Instead
facts.
of actually thinking about the data or whatever.
Yeah, or even if it's remotely factual. Yeah, I remember that person being a jerk, so I'm sure they've always been a jerk, and they're still a jerk, and I don't need to go and verify. So, yeah. And that's how you end up with people in in a jury going, yeah, that person is.
Exactly.
Or
Like
that's how
once
you.
a felon, always a felon.
Yep. 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 And some people, it's true. They
But
almost
it's
make
not
it a
a hundred
career.
percent, right?
They almost make it a career and get away with it. But you won't be able to, folks. Y'all don't have enough money. Anyway, let's move on. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News, and we usually have a PSA of some type in the show, but this is a dog food recall that sparks a warning for pet owners in 7 states. The puppy food was recalled on Monday due to contamination with a dangerous pathogen. Anybody want to know what it is?
Let me think. It's got to be E. coli or Salmonella. It's probably E. coli for what this is.
Wrong, salmonella.
Oh,
Oh, you don't get 2 points. So the article is over at newsweek.com. Aila, I think Aila Slisco put the article together. Don't lick your dog's nose. Don't stick your mouth on your dog's face. Don't have kisses. That's not cute. Do you know? And no, you're never going to get me to believe. I have my internal bias. You will never get me to believe that, you know, a dog is cleaner than. No.
yeah, I don't know about that.
Anyway, Blue Ridge Beef announced on Monday. I don't want to crack a joke. Blue Ridge Beef announced on. God, I really want to crack this joke, but I'm trying to keep it at least a little remotely family friendly. They announced on Monday that 2-pound packages of puppy mix, or one of those dogs right there, were being recalled due to contamination with the dangerous bacteria Salmonella. Anyway, the dog food is in frozen logs. Frozen log dog food that are marked
You
as.
notice that's not the name.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They wouldn't sell much.
Somehow that wouldn't sell. Anyway, they were instructing owners to keep frozen until ready for use, but they've recalled puppy mix that was distributed to the following states from August 6th to August 23rd: Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York. And the packages all include a UPC number, and you'll have to follow the link through ohmTown. I'm reading this is going to turn into, what's the name of that show where they had to keep on hitting the numbers, and there was like a smoke monster from the airline that crashed.
Oh, Lost.
Lost, yeah. I had you were lost there for a moment. Like,
Yes,
what?
I was very lost. I think the smoke monster was in front of me.
Like the carbolic smoke ball monster. So salmonella can affect animals eating the products, and there's a risk to humans from handling it, and so on and so forth. So if you have that product, that puppy mix from Blue Ridge Beef, then get it out of there. Put it all in a Ziploc bag or something like that, and throw it back in the freezer until you take it back to the store for a refund, or straight out just throw it away. And hopefully it'll decompose enough in a landfill somewhere that it won't infect anybody else. I don't know really what to do with this kind of stuff.
I don't either, because I would fear that it might get eaten if it gets thrown out.
Yeah. So if it says for humans, it appears from 6 hours to 6 days from infection, and that it typically lasts upwards of 7 days, has symptoms of cramping and other things, gastrointestinal distress. So if you're feeling like crap, guess what? You might have
You must have
salmonella.
eaten the dog food.
Yeah, don't eat the dog food.
No, I know, but I'm saying if you feel like that, then you must have ingested the dog food.
Why are you eating the dog food, though? It's the dog's food. You don't eat dog food.
You didn't say if your dog feels like crap. You said if you feel like crap.
Well, if you feel like crap, then you could have given it to your dog and it got you contaminated. And so, moving on. Last article for today is over on the Mobile Channel. I got malaria on purpose, and so can you. Not me, the article's author, I guess. Kirsten Lake professor of medicine at the University of Maryland and principal investigator on my malaria study. Not my malaria study, the one that's over here at Vox. I'm also not an attorney. I'm not a plumber. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a tinker, a tailor, a soldier, or a spy.
Are you a Le Carre?
Really, I just want to date your daughter and not process anything, sell anything, buy anything, or make, buy, or process any. Anyway, I'm distracted. Let's just go over to Vox. So Vox is where this article is, Vox.com. Dylan Matthews put the article together, and it says, we need new malaria drugs. So apparently they spent a year as a guinea pig. Dear God, that's some commitment.
Who wants to be doing that?
They volunteered to be exposed to malaria as part of a study at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, evaluating the MAM01, an injectable drug meant to prevent infection. And by exposed to malaria, they mean bitten by mosquitoes infected with malaria.
You know, it's bad enough getting bitten by a mosquito. Most people wouldn't want to be doing that. But knowing that it was infected with malaria and getting bitten by it?
Kind of takes some serious stones. So you sit at a foldable chair and a foldable table with a bunch of other foldable volunteers while foldable nurses place a small foldable cardboard cylinder containing several infected foldable mosquitoes, which is my
There's
DJ name.
a lot of foldables.
Right, against your arm that isn't, ironically, folded. It's outstretched. That tickled me. I don't know. Anyway, they were separated by a
Not
mesh
unlike a mosquito crawling across your arm.
Tickles you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it was separated by a mesh that keeps the mosquitoes from escaping, but enables them to bite you, sucker. Which they do. And they don't bite. They stab a proboscis into you, and then they regurgitate their innards to numb you, and then they suck it all up. And that's how you get infected. But I saw a video, animated GIF actually, where there's a mosquito where the proboscis has been genetically modified so it can't penetrate. And I swear to God that this mosquito is like looking down and jab, 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 and then it looks right down the barrel of the camera and is like, "Do you see this shit?" Jab,
Why
jab,
can't
jab.
I sting this person?
It's not a stinger. It's a stab. And they're drinking and they're not injecting except by accident. They backwash, which is why I don't allow anybody to share a straw, because then they act like a mosquito. Blech. Anyway, when they were going to the lab, another volunteer had just finished up, gave them a tip. Use your socks. Take them off and rub the dirty socks soaked in your grimy foot sweat on your arm. And he was right. Anopheles gambea mosquitoes are apparently foot fetishists. So I guess they really dig your feet because they're smelly and sweaty. So, guess this isn't going to work for me.
Yeah, this is way too much detail.
See, my problem with this is I don't know about the medication enough to trust being the guinea pig for this at the human scale.
Well, number one, you're assuming that that medication is exactly tied to that strain of malaria, right? That it's effective. What if the malaria mutated? Or what if the medication isn't effective? I mean, malaria is pretty serious.
They say the experience was long, lasting over a year with hours upon hours of appointments, but it's incredibly safe. Bullshit. No.
I'd like to see the stats from that trial. Like,
see,
how many people walked away from the trial?
I don't know. Would they actually be talking about this if people were dropping like mosquitoes?
Mosquitoes? I don't know.
Yeah, they said that they walked away from it fine, but they got bitten by mosquitoes. I say mosquito because that's my DJ name. Anyway, 85 hours of driving was, to be honest, pretty annoying. More annoying than actually getting malaria, because they actually got malaria, but because of the treatment, they said that it was mild. But it had a silver lining. They got through most of the audiobooks of War and Peace, and which I would never War and Peace as an audiobook. I'd rather go ahead. I'll get bit by mosquitoes with malaria. Anyway, in the Power Broker, on the trips on I-95, malaria's major side effect was to make the person more cultured, apparently, and also possibly the only person on Earth to associate a tropical disease with Moscow in winter. There is a lot more to this article, but I won't go through it. They got, for a year of this, they got paid $4,740 so far. They're donating all of that to the Against Malaria Foundation and the Malaria Consortium, since they didn't want any of the readers to get the impression of the experience was inappropriately biased by getting paid. After deducting the mileage costs and dividing by 85 hours of driving and maybe 30 hours in labs and tests, it works out to $12.50 an hour to get malaria, so that it benefits everybody else in the world.
I mean, I'm glad there are people like that out there. Most people would not sign up for this.
Yeah, so to join their challenge trial, they had to read through a 21-page document explaining how meticulous detail exactly what the trial entailed. They had to go through a screening appointment, pass a quiz about the contents of that 21-page document, and sign many forms. And every one of the dozens of visits they made part of the study has begun with a nurse asking if they consent to continuing with the study.
What do you think those terms said? Something like, you may die in the first
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Are you okay with today being the last day of your existence?
God.
Yes. So, and they talk about the disease was a major scourge at the time. In a famous 1793 outbreak, about 1 in 10 Philadelphians died of the disease, and the federal government, then headquartered in the city, was forced to shut down. Gosh, it sounds familiar. Anyway, yeah, this is a really neat article, but I'm not going to go through the entirety of it because Vox does long form. Definitely, if I piqued your curiosity about what this involves and you want to know more, follow the link through ohmTown, or just go straight over to Vox.com and do a search for I got malaria on purpose, and so can you. So I am going to fold everything up like my eyelids, and when I unfold them, we'll be back at the front page of ohmTown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. But until then, we are done for the day or the night, late afternoon, early evening. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI is going to say bye.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Watch out for those mosquitoes.
Mosquito.